Okay, I'd like to call this regular meeting of the Board of Education for Loveland to order tonight. We're starting a little bit late. I apologize for those that are online. We had a good reason to do so, though, as we were recognizing all of our retirees and their amazing service to our district. So that's why we're starting a little bit late. So call this meeting to order at 6:10 p.m. Can we have a roll call, please?
Reverend Eilert.
Here.
Mrs. Jarnick. Mrs. Mangan.
Here.
Dr. Swetchenow.
Here.
Mrs. Washburn.
Here.
Thank you. Can we all stand then for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, we have an agenda that was published at the end of the week. We have a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Jarnick.
Yes.
Mrs. Mangan.
Yes.
Dr. Swetchenow.
Yes.
Mrs. Washburn.
Yes.
Reverend Eilert.
Yes. Thank you. And we have minutes from our previous meeting that were posted online. Any additions, corrections to the minutes as presented? We have a motion to approve.
So moved. I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Mangan.
Yes.
Dr. Swetchenow.
Yes.
Mrs. Washburn.
Yes.
Reverend Eilert.
Yes.
Mrs. Jarnick.
Yes.
Thank you. Guests, we have a few guests here with us today, including our new student representatives, and a couple of their parents are here as well. So welcome to you and a few other folks that Mr. Broadwater will be introducing later. So appreciate all of your presence here with us at our meeting. Are there any hearing of the public?
There are none.
Okay, thank you. Again, as we said, we had our recognition of retirements for tonight. And how many years was it? 307 years of service represented among those who are retiring. So amazing group of folks that have served this district well over many, many years. And we are grateful and we're happy to have an opportunity once again to celebrate all of their accomplishments and service to the children of this district. We have a time now for the board president's report. Are there things from committees to be reported?
Student Experience Committee was postponed until next month, so Brian Lee can attend and fill us in on his world.
Great.
No report there.
I just wanted to congratulate the students of the Great Oaks programs. They just graduated with their homeschools, but also had a special ceremony for the programs that they have completed and the honors that they've done. We're looking forward to the next group of students coming in.
We'll both Mr. Espy and Mr. Broadwater will give an update on the school funding. So from a legislative perspective, that continues to be our primary focus. And then from the school foundation, the Tigers Inc. and the district have done a really nice job sharing the work that the Green Team and Tigers Inc. have done for the Steve Kenyon outdoor classroom. I encourage folks to save the date, September 26th, before the homecoming football game is when there'll be a ribbon cutting, and it's really coming along nicely. I think they're at $165,000 raised in order to complete the outdoor classroom. So really amazing effort by the students and just a great way to honor Mr. Kenyon.
Fantastic. We did have a facilities meeting as well. I don't know if you want to say
I'd say
anything
that,
about
yeah,
there.
just two quick updates on facilities and then finance, both of which we'll hear about at today's meeting. Facilities, we've been talking for a few months about improving storage out to move some materials outside of the high school so that we can have things for the band more readily accessible where they practice, as well as for the sports team. So you'll hear more about that. And then from a finance standpoint, it's our 5-year forecast. So we'll get to hear all about school finance today.
Great. All right. Anything else? Eileen, you want to say anything about the luncheon today? You represented us at the.
Oh, yeah, the lunch was great today. It was to recognize our partnerships with the businesses and the internships and opportunities that are created for our students. Drews Mitchell was there to present to a plaque to each business that does take some of our students on, and there were a large number of them there. There were a few students there, not as many as in the past, but I understand they're now relaxing and sleeping in after graduation. But it was great to recognize everybody and bring them together.
Remember having to make my daughter go last year after graduation. That's a hard sell to those kids that have already graduated. Yeah. Great. Thank you for being there and being a part of that.
My pleasure.
Administrator reports, you see those, they were in the agenda as presented, and we'll be hearing, I'm sure, bits about some of those other things as we go along throughout the rest of our reporting. And so I turn now, though, to Mr. Broadwater for our superintendent update.
Thank you, President Eilert. Going to review some good things. And first and foremost, I'm going to say congratulations to all of our graduates. The graduation ceremony, as usual, was extremely, I'll say, entertaining, and just it shows you why we do what we do. It shows you the immense responsibility you have. All of us have to take care of these students for parents and families and our kids. I don't know if there's any better kids anywhere. They just always respond. And I always hate speaking at graduation because our kids speak so well. I'd rather not follow them. They're so good. And so I'm really, really proud of our kids and what they have accomplished. So along with that, the first slide I've got after that one is we just released this today. We found out this week we have received 2025 Best Communities for Music Education here in Loveland City School District. This is the first time Loveland has received this honor, and I think we all know we pay particular attention to performing arts, and we try and do as much as we can for our students, and our parents and our boosters do such a great job of supporting, and I'm just very, very excited. I was able to get out to every campus and say congratulations to every teacher that was in their classroom. Some I missed because they were on planning period or whatnot, but we got to all 4 campuses to say thank you. If you know what performing arts is, you know it's a lot of time, and it's a lot of passion, it's a lot of heart, and this is awesome for our directors and our kids to receive. It's a recognition of outstanding achievement in providing music, access, and education to all of our students. We want to say thank you to our music staff, students, parents, and volunteers. And again, I was able to say thank you to most of our educators today. Thank you again to the boosters who provide so much for our students and take care of it. And NAM, if you don't know, is the National Association of Music Merchants. I wrote that down there so I could remember that. So, but I do want to call out our educators, Olivia Halford at LECC, Lauren Alton at the primary, Michelle Henn at the elementary, Melissa Dennedy at the intermediate, and some of our teachers go to other campuses also. Chris Henning and Jill Stagg at the middle school, Rachel Birkin, Jeff Miller, and Sean Miller. We were able to get to them and say thank you. So it is definitely a job with passion, and we appreciate all they do. The next thing I would like to turn it over to, we have a volunteer named Barbara McFarland, who was nice enough to attend this evening. I met Barbara as I was doing one of my favorite things, which is cruising the hallways at some of our schools, and I kept seeing this individual working with our kids in the hallway and doing so many activities with them and prepping the activities. And over time, Barbara and I think have gotten to know each other pretty well. And so Mr. Eilert had the idea of why don't we let Barbara speak and at a board meeting. I think it's a great idea because Barbara's not the type who's going to complain and say kids could do this or this. She's going to get in and help. And that's, to me, is what it's all about, is getting in and helping. And I think along the way, you'll see kids are pretty special. But Barbara, I'm going to let you go up to the podium there and say a few words.
There we go. I think we got it. Thank you very much. I appreciate this opportunity. I taught for 33 years at a graduate level, law students, if you really want to know. And then I retired, and I found I was not someone who was happy in retirement. I needed to be needed. So I started volunteering at LECC in the media center, and I got to read stories to kindergartners, and I learned something really important. Kindergartners are just like dogs. They give you unconditional love. Every time you show up, you are Santa Claus and the Easter Bunny all rolled into one. So I have 3 points that I would like to make, and they're interrelated. And the first is I hope you all know how dedicated and amazing the teachers you have are. I'm at LACC, LPS, and LES at least 3 days a week, sometimes 4. And I do scut work so that the teachers can focus on curriculum and on their students. So I copy, I laminate, I print, I collate, I use the Ellison cutter to make amazing shapes. I prep crafts. I do anything that does not require brain work because I use my brain for 33 years and it's a little tired by now. They are incredible. They are forever looking for new curriculum, a new way to help this child who's struggling with this task. They are phenomenal. I am so impressed and so honored to be among these people, watching them do what they love to do every day. And that brings me to my second point. They need support. They need more people like me. Those of you who are parents, when I was a parent, I worked full-time. I couldn't be in my children's school, but now I can. Those of you who are parents, call your mom or dad tonight and say, hey, you can carve out 3 hours to go work in the school with our child, your grandchild. It is an absolutely amazing experience, which brings me to my third point. Not only do the teachers get a lot out of you being there, and you will be so appreciated, I promise. The children get a lot out of you being there. If you're not comfortable working with children, do the kind of work that I do at LECC, which is primarily not working with the children, I'm working for the teachers. Every teacher deserves a secretary, in my humble opinion. And that's kind of what I do for them. I do that kind of mindless work. But I had an epiphany last year when I was in the hall at LPS working with students in my younger granddaughter's first grade class. It suddenly occurred to me that in 33 years of teaching, I had never really experienced a moment of joy. I loved my job. I think I did a good job. I think I prepared my students well, but I had never experienced a moment of joy. And now I have joy on a daily basis. Thank you.
I think you can see why I love seeing Barbara in the hallways. It brightens my day. And so, believe me, it's nothing too expensive, but it is.
I know what it is.
Do you?
See the lid.
Oh. It's pretty sharp, but it does say Tiger.
Hydro bottle, okay.
It does say Tigers, it says Tiger's bath on it though. So you're now part of our staff.
Ooh,
So I want to say thank you.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Well, Mike, our gut was right. It was good to have her come and speak. And yeah, and I do hope many parents are able to hear that message. And it really is an amazing experience to go in and volunteer and spend time with those kids. You're never disappointed that you were there.
And we certainly welcome volunteers in the building. I think one thing COVID did that was not great, among others, I guess, but I think people felt like they couldn't come into the building. And so we want to make sure we welcome people into the building, and anything they can do to help kids is appreciated. So Barbara, thank you very, very much. The next slide I've got is the 3-star award recognized by Ohio Department of Education and Workforce for our Business Advisory Council. And this is out of a 4-star scale, so I'm just giving you some more good news here. Loveland is part of the Greater Cincinnati Business Advisory Council in partnership with the Hamilton County ESC and Claremont County ESC. More opportunities for our students to connect with more employers and organizations is the goal of that organization. We will continue to operate our own business advisory committee. Since we're on the council at HCESC, we'll continue our own committee, and we will continue to foster relationships. The relationships that you see in the next slide where Mrs. Washburn attended as well. We had the partnership little get together today, and Mr. Drew Mitchell is the one who organizes it along with Brian Lee. And those are the students that participated. We had, I'm going to say it was over 50. I know it was about maybe 70 or so in students that participated. And I can't say enough about Drews Mitchell and the work he does, but I will also say, being able to have Brian Lee with us, he's able to really hone down on what our kids can do and what we need to do in the future to continue to grow the learning pathways. And I appreciate the board letting us pursue that. We heard in our strategic vision process 4 years ago that our community wanted to see us grow in that area, and I think we've done very well. And in the fall, we are looking to have a breakfast where we'll invite more businesses in from around the community and outside of the Loveland community as well, because we do partner with them as well, and show off our kids, let them know what they can do for our students, but also what our students can do for them. So congratulations to Brian and Drews. I'll also say for the Performing Arts Award through NAM, Brian Lee did a lot of legwork on that. It's a lot of data collection, and he was able to work with all of our performing arts teachers to collect the data and get that turned into where we could get recognized. So I appreciate the work Brian did as well. And along with that, today, Mr. Espy was at a Warren County Treasurers meeting, which sounds like a party that I wasn't able to attend.
I'll sneak you in next time.
That's okay. But John, you weren't there. The young man you had working for you, with you, remind Julie,
Luis
Luis,
Salcedo.
we were presented for the Loveland Board of Education, a proud partner of the Loveland Tiger Pathways Student Internship Program. If you're not aware, John had that young man, and then Andrew had Ellie Hilliker in the superintendent's office working with him, and so we're also trying to work through the learning pathways. The last comment I will make is, I guess I probably could make it later, but welcome to our student reps. We've got Anna, Lily, Kellen, and Jack, and the bow tie lives on. We like it. So I don't know if you caught in the graduation speech, there was a little bow tie mentioned. So, but welcome, and I'm super excited to have you. I think if there's one thing that helps me stay in touch with what we really should be staying in touch with, which is students, it's the conversations we have. So thank you for volunteering to do this. With that so includes update.
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Broadwater.
Thank you.
Next on our agenda are student handbook updates. And is anyone presenting those, or?
I'm happy to talk through them if you'd like. This is basic.
Anyone have any questions? We did talk through those last time. Any additions or corrections from the last time?
Yeah, there's going to be something that comes up later, but meal pricing would be the only thing that changed, and we'll ask that you take action on that later in the meeting.
Great. All right, do we have a motion then to approve the student handbook updates?
So moved.
Second?
Roll call, please.
Dr. Swetchenow,
Yes.
Mrs. Washburn,
Yes.
Reverend Eilert,
Yes.
Mrs. Jarenick,
Yes.
Mrs. Mangan.
Yes.
Well, thank you. Next then, we have the resolution to approve our new student representatives. So again, on behalf of the board, I want to say welcome to all of you. It's great to have you here and to be a part of this process. And I want to make sure you all know that we want you to have voice in this meeting. And one of the things we really appreciate is not just hearing reports from the buildings, but the experiences that you're having as a students and the kinds of things that you think it's important for the Board of Education to hear about what it's like to be a student at Loveland today. Where CJ a couple times talking about, you've got another younger sibling, right? Conversations with an elementary student and what was going on there. And so, those are the kinds of things that are really impactful for us. And so we want to encourage you to continue to have conversations with fellow students here in the district, not just even other high school students, but if you got a chance to get down and to some of the younger buildings that you'll be representing and reporting on, we'd love to hear about student perspectives on things, and the time you spend with Mr. Broadwater and the council as well, bringing back feedback from that's always really helpful to us too. So we're grateful that you guys are here tonight. We're able to make time in this last week of school to be here with us tonight, and look forward to having you with us for reporting in the future. You might want to stay around after we do this one for one more. It'll be the new prices for the cafeteria. You'll be the
Yeah.
first to know, tell everyone what it's going to be like.
Reverend
next year.
Eilert, I'm going to apologize. The last part of my update, I was so excited to introduce the students, I forgot to introduce Adam Samuels has a presentation for technology that he has prepared. How do we go back to that, Mr. Espy?
Let's finish this item and then we'll
You
go
got
back.
it. Okay,
fine.
thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else from any other board members you'd like to say to our new representative?
No, just thank you, and we're looking forward to getting to know you next year.
Yes, and thanks for joining our team.
Don't be afraid to speak up. And I'm so excited that the bow tie.
All right, do we have a motion then to approve the resolution to approve these new representatives?
So moved.
Second,
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Washburn,
yes.
Reverend Eilert,
Yes,
Mrs. Jarnick,
Yes.
Mrs. Mengen,
Yes.
Dr. Swetchina.
Yes.
great, thank you. All right, now we can go to Mr. Samuels then.
I apologize, Mr. Samuels.
Yeah, yeah, you
Yeah. Be important. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, parents, for being here.
Thank
as
you.
well.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening, board. I appreciate the opportunity to speak tonight, and good evening, community. I'm excited to share with you a little bit of what I think is a success story in the district, and one that is a very big effort from teachers, administrators, all across the board. And basically, what I'd like to take this time to do is look at our technology in the district, our technology and curriculum, what we've done as a district to continue to be strategic with what we use, how we use it, how we save costs, and what that's led to as far as cost savings over the past 3 years. So to kick it off, they say never start a presentation with numbers and a chart. So we're going to start off with numbers. I kind of just set the stage. They did a study in 2017 and 2018, and you can find multiple examples of these studies out there where they look at ed tech spending. So it's a technology, educational technology used in K-12 schools. And so they looked at $2 billion of spending across 275 schools. And what they found in that study over a course of a school year was that about 67% of the software licenses that were being purchased in the district were going unused. And I'm proud to say that at Loveland, this is something that we are not. But it's important to have procedures, practices, policies, things in place to make sure that we don't ever get to a point where we're this type of statistic. So that leads me into so what practices do we have in place that will be long-standing, that continue to help and make sure that we are cognizant of every single dollar that crosses the desk. And it all starts with really having a strong inventory. So knowing what we have in the district, what we use, why do we use it, how are we using it, and then doing kind of a needs assessment and comparison of all those different programs and asking ourselves, do we have programs in the district that maybe one program does one thing and another program has similar features, and maybe we can get rid of one and kind of take a quality over quantity approach and save some costs along the way and really be better at the programs that we have. And that's something at Loveland that we've always, I feel like, done a good job with, and just continue to really elaborate on and find different ways to do this even more. For me, once we have this information and kind of know what we're using, how we're using it, why we're using it, the next step is to kind of look at what levers we can pull here. So from a financial perspective, we can consolidate resources like I talked about earlier. We can get rid of resources if we feel like maybe they're not cost effective, or maybe they no longer serve a purpose that we originally intended them to be. And we can renegotiate all of our contracts. So every single year, what we do is every dollar that crosses the desk, we take a look at each individual curriculum and technology contract, and we ask ourselves, how can we get this contract lower than what the quote originally says? And so we do that a number of ways. We involve a lot of vendors to get into competitive bidding, but we also we're kind of known, I feel like at this point, as when it comes to renewing programs, the vendors, the reps from each vendor reach out to me and they'll say, "Oh yeah, you're the guy who likes to get a discount," and I laugh about it. But I think what that means is that we've also set the stage on who we are, what we expect, and what we need, and we have those things in place. Ultimately, companies know that we're strategic with what we pay for, and that we're not just going to blindly check a box and pay for it. So we continue to put those practices in place, and then really the last piece, again, when you're taking a quality over quantity approach, is just having good training in place, right? When you look to the previous statistic of the 67% of software licenses go unused, if you dig deeper into that, it was about 30% of teachers said that they didn't even know the software existed. Another 60% said they didn't have proper training. So if we're going to use these programs and we're going to invest in them and we think that they're meaningful, the next step is how do we get the most out of those programs and know that they're working for our teachers and working for our students when it comes to educational outcomes. And then all that to be said, kind of at the end of that process of just reflecting, looking at what things are we doing well, how is this saving us money, how is this ensuring that we're finding the best curriculum and programs for students, and then looking at ways to make that process even better and better every year. So one kind of big takeaway over the past couple years, all curriculum in software purchasing goes across through our teaching and learning office. And the reason we do that is, let's say the high school and the primary school both want to buy this programs from the same exact vendor. We can combine those contracts and basically have better negotiating power that way versus individual buildings both negotiating with the vendor on smaller contracts. So that's been a big win to help us as well with cost savings. We take a similar approach with hardware. So anything we do to keep the internet up or anything computers, anything hardware based at all in our district, we look at the life cycles and ask ourselves, is there a way we can extend the life cycles longer so we're not purchasing technology more frequently? How do we extend them longer? How do we train our staff, our tech staff enough so that they can do things in-house and address things without the need to bring in third parties to solve problems? So we've done a lot of that over the past couple years. And then again, the competitive bidding process. The more vendors we can involve, and we're continuing to build our vendor pools more and more. So we've got multiple people we can reach out to. And that's led to, again, a lot of cost savings because what one vendor can offer, the other vendor wants to compete with. And by the time everybody's competing, you're just getting those prices lower and lower. So all that culminates into the past 3 years. When you look at our software and hardware, have been able to save or cost avoid a total of 529 grand across the district. And that's a combination of doing things like we talked about, negotiating every single contract, consolidating resources, getting rid of resources that we feel like might not serve the purpose or maybe their costs have increased, things like that. And that's conversations with teachers, administrators, everybody across the district. And one thing that I think makes Loveland special when you're talking with teachers and administrators about this kind of work, there's a very clear understanding of we're all working together to save costs. And that also can open the door for other programs that might be more effective for kids. So at the end of the day, it's a cost savings approach, and it's also a fact-finding approach of what's the best resources out there for kids. So across the board, again, just big cost savings. And I hope one thing that's taken from this presentation is that every dollar that crosses our desk, we really scrutinize and make sure that we know that what we're putting our money towards truly is effective, truly is important, and we value that a lot. And I say that as both a community member and an employee of the district. One last piece, so just some other interesting and exciting things happening around the technology department. We, as a district, over the course of this year, had an AI cohort, which was a mix of teachers and students working together throughout the year to really develop and identify what are best practices with AI. We know that when you look at the collegiate level and the K through 12 level, artificial intelligence, AI is a hot button topic, more so in the academic integrity side, because like when Google first came out, it's an easy way to get quick answers, and that sparks a lot of concern. So we wanted to look at, knowing that AI, it's not really an option just to do nothing. We wanted to look at how do we leverage AI, how do we communicate appropriate use of AI, how do we make sure that we're doing our due diligence in understanding AI so that it's not just this thing happening behind the scenes in an academic integrity type of issue. We're really using it in a way that's clear. And I think the same, I know it's a lighter comparison, but graphing calculators and things like that, as groundbreaking technology at some point in time gets introduced, doing nothing's never an option, and finding solutions is always where we try to be. So a special shout out and kudos to the administrators and teachers on this AI cohort. We have a framework, which I'll grab real quick. And this will be made available on Loveland's website in the future as it moves through its draft form. But again, just a really, really nice opportunity to lay a roadmap of where we want to go with AI. Moving slow and careful, knowing that there are risks with AI, but there's also a ton of benefits. And trying to identify what those pieces are is really important to us as a district. Very last piece, we had our first Science and Innovation Expo this year at Loveland. This was, if you think of a typical kind of science fair that we all grew up with, this is kind of a science fair and more. So students had the opportunity, if you're in grades 5 through 12, to create a science project that you could then submit to move on to the regional competition at the University of Cincinnati. And based on how you did there, you could then move on to Ohio State State Science Day. So that was for grades 5 through 12. And then for grades K through 12, so let's say maybe you weren't interested in the science path specifically, or maybe you weren't old enough to do the science fair part, we had the Innovation Expo that happens in the same room. All the tables are together. And the Innovation Expo is really simply taking and identifying a problem and creating a solution to it. So I know one of my favorite projects was there was a group of siblings that figured out how to get snacks. They said the biggest problem we face is that in our car, we have a third row and we can't get snacks to the back row. So how do we solve this problem? And they created a pulley system that had a bucket in their car that had suction cups on the side of the windows, and it allowed the pulley system to transfer snacks from the front row to the back row. But again, solving a problem, and I always say the best thing we can do for kids is put them in a position where they're not solving a pre-prescribed problem and they're really having to think through solutions, working together with people to come up with something that's creative and unique in their own. And this is one more opportunity to do that. So if you want to learn more about it, lovelandschools.org/expo. We have all the information on there, and that's where students will go to sign up. We will have this next year as well, and the date will be announced fairly soon. So those are a lot of the exciting things happening in the technology department. I'm super excited just to be a part of the work. And again, a thank you to our teachers and administrators for all the work that went into all of these pieces that are up here. So any questions from the board?
Comment, just, I know, really grateful that you were able to share this tonight, and it's great to hear a report on kind of your first few years of being here and the important work that you've been doing. And I remember when we were looking at your position, hiring for the position, there's always the discussion about how much a position costs to put that into place. But I remember having the discussion about how much will it cost us not to have this position. And I think your report's a great way of us looking at that and thinking about not just the dollar cost, which is huge in terms of what you've been able to save the district, but when we have a loss of the technological opportunities that are there for a district, those become educational losses as well.
Absolutely.
In the schools. And so we're grateful for all you brought and looking at it holistically and having education be at the forefront of the way that you approach this position and the priorities that you put in place to make sure that we are staying current and looking at what's next for the district. So thank you.
I appreciate it.
Throughout the first year, you can see where we had a lot of software that kind of downloaded and so forth. So, President Allen, I appreciate what we're doing like it did in terms of seeing but also just at least kind of page itself. But knowing Adam the way I know Adam is also customer service is what we need to talk about. Helping our classroom teachers, teachers know without the technology does have a problem. So there are many times over the weekend, Adam's over at the high school, there's electric outage and things like that, and he has the skill to do the technology, has the view of the teacher. What I didn't know about Adam is
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks for that catch and making sure we heard that important report. Appreciate that. Moving back to the agenda, then we're looking at 5.3, which, as we said before, are those school meal prices for this upcoming year. Do you want to say a little bit about that, Mr. Espy?
Yes, thank you, Reverend Eilert. When we looked at this, I looked at this with Mrs. Tracy, who's the Director of Food Service for the district, as well as Michelle Anton, who serves as an administrative assistant. And we were able to kind of sit down and look at the last several years of expenses, of what it's cost. Obviously, over the last several years, the food prices have gone up. And we could not find a increase in cost of meals going back to like 2018. And so our goal, to be very clear, is not to be profitable in food service. Our goal is to be break even. And so I put some analysis in board docs that you can review. I know we reviewed it during the finance committee meeting to show that we were actually spending more than we were bringing in. And so we're trying to look forward right now with the balance that we do have that we feel is very protected given given the funds that we brought in during COVID times, where all students were counted as free and reduced. This is an attempt for us to kind of monitor this next year, see how this looks, and kind of regroup at the end of next year and see where we look in terms of prices. Most of these are going up around 5%, but we're also doing things to try to mitigate, similar to what Mr. Samuels just talked about, trying to mitigate the cost. We are part of a consortium where we purchase food. So again, this is just trying to right size before we, again, spend more than we bring in.
My only comment as we look at this is just that I hope, particularly looking into next year, that we continue to look at the health factor in all of the food that's served in our schools as well. And we think about how can we provide the healthiest food for the least cost, but trying to balance those two things to make sure we're providing some nutritional value in the things that we're sharing with the kids too. Any other comments, questions from board members? All right, we have a motion then to approve.
So moved.
Second?
Roll call, please.
Reverend Eilert,
Yes.
Mrs. Jarnick,
Yes.
Mrs. Mangan,
Yes.
Dr. Swetchnow.
Yes.
Mrs. Washburn.
Yes.
Thank you. 5.4, the continuity of learning plan.
This is just something that we have to utilize, actually bring to the board to have you to look at it and approve it every year. This has not changed at all. And you'll notice that it does have to be signed off on by our LEA president, Greg Kroski, which it is.
Makes sense to everyone?
Yep.
Any questions, comments? We have a motion to approve.
So moved.
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Jarnick,
Yes.
Mrs. Mangan,
Yes.
Dr. Swetchnow,
Yes.
Mrs. Washburn,
Yes.
Reverend Eilert.
Yes. All right, thank you. We'll move to Mr. Collier's report.
Very surprised earlier to hear his favorite position as a middle school principal, seeing that he has this lovely color-coded FTE chart. He's so passionate about.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Miss Washburn.
You also mentioned a lot about hair back then. And I
I'm
still want to see
skeptical, I don't
proof.
know.
from
Okay, all right. So to the HR section we go. And just so everybody knows, I'm very appreciative of my position here and I like it very much. Actually, let's turn the tables. Hey, Mr. Broadwater, what was the favorite position you ever had in education?
Well, I did HR. It was not HR. High school principal is probably my favorite. Yep.
I mean, I've got to tell you, I know that Mike loves his position and I love my position and love working here in the district. This place has been really great to me for the past 24 years, but I would have to tell you, running a building and getting that energy from your staff and your kids every day is a pretty unique, awesome position, which is not throwing shade at the position I am now, I promise. So,
Well, you are a very good principal. So
Oh, well, thank you.
Get in there.
You're even better at HR, Garth.
okay, right. As you guys can see tonight, board members, the May agenda is always very packed. It's a very busy time for us in the HR world. We're wrapping up one school year and getting ready for another school year. Before our meeting started tonight, of course, we were honoring our retirees. When you talk about retirees, we're talking about people that are replacing them. The school year is kind of in a cycle. So lots of things for you. The things that were not included in the first round that was sent out to you guys on Friday are highlighted in yellow for you guys to make sure to see. It isn't often that I'm able to publicly thank Mrs. McDaniel for all of her hard work in the HR office. She is actually here tonight because of the retiree recognition. So Judy, if you would like to stand up so we can recognize you for all your hard work. There she is. Thank you, Judy, for everything that you do and keeping me in line. I, of course, am able to field any questions. The reason for a lot of the length of the HR agenda has all of our teaching contracts in here for any teacher that is renewing for a 1-year, 2-year, 3-year, or a continuing contract. We also have our academic and fine arts and fall athletic supplementals that are in here. We have some book exchange folks that are in here. So quite a few things that are a little bit out of the ordinary. And then also the regular garden variety of things that are just business about the district. So if anybody has any questions, I'd be glad to answer them.
Questions?
Looks good.
Do we have a motion to approve the report as presented?
So moved.
I'll second.
All right. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Mangan,
Yes.
Dr. Swetchenow,
Yes.
Mrs. Washburn,
Yes.
Reverend Eilert,
Yes,
Mrs. Jernick.
Yes.
thank you.
All right. You want me to go ahead and just go to the
Yeah.
next section?
Yeah,
All right.
thank you.
I believe, I don't have it up. The next section is probably
Handbook,
Handbook?
exempt
What's
handbook.
Exempt handbook.
exempt handbook. The only change for the exempt handbook is that we noticed that our courier position is what we refer to as the pony position. So it's our interdistrict mail that gets delivered every day back and forth from all of our different 4 campuses. It was approved, but it didn't make its way into the handbook. And after Mr. Espy noticed it, we just wanted to make sure to make that change and make sure that it is included in the handbook. And that's the only change for the exempt handbook at this time.
Any questions about that? We have a motion to approve the revised exempt handbook for 23 to 26 as presented.
So moved.
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Dr. Swetchenow,
Yes.
Mrs. Washburn,
Yes.
Reverend Eilert,
Yes,
Mrs. Jernick,
Yes.
Mrs. Mangan.
Yes.
thanks. And finally, the overnight.
The overnight trip, yeah. This is our, which traditionally now has become kind of like an annual trip for our yearbook folks. Of course, as you guys know, and for the public who maybe isn't used to maybe watching a board meeting, anytime our students are kind of leaving and going overnight, especially out of state, we want to make sure to bring it to the board's attention. This particular trip is both overnight and out of state. Just calling it to your attention to make sure that you're aware that our students are out and about and doing awesome things, of course, as remaining safe as they're doing it. So any questions about the overnight trip?
Who's the advisor this upcoming year that's going with them?
I believe it's Jill Lowry. It's Judy, it's Jill, right? Yeah, it's Jill Lowry.
Does the whole club go or does it select?
The whole crew is invited to go. I believe there are a couple of students that aren't able to make the trip. Yep.
Very cool.
All right, do we have a motion then to approve the field trip application?
So moved.
Second?
And roll call, please.
Mrs. Washburn,
Yes.
Reverend Eilert,
Yes.
Mrs. Jernick,
Yes.
Mrs. Mangan,
Yes.
Dr. Swetchenow.
Yes.
I do want to point out, though, that with this trip, these are funds that this group raises. So they're raising the funds to be able to go. So just point of clarification.
Mr. Espy always has his eye on the dollar. I appreciate it.
That's right.
I just want people to know that that they're supporting this
Yes.
trip.
What Mr. Samuel said earlier and that, of course, operating a district costs money, right? And we're not trying to make a profit, but when we can save money and still have the same kind of experience for our kids, it's important. So we have made it kind of a habit to make sure to remind folks of things like this. And I appreciate you, John, saying this tonight. There are many things. I think there's a donation section that's in Mr. Espy's next section. There are many things that we have offered for our students, and we're always making sure that we're spending money wisely. And we appreciate all the help that we get from outside organizations and from community members and those sorts of things. So I just want to echo what Adam said because it is true. And the same goes true with the HR recommendations. You, as the board, you guys know, and I've talked about earlier that, when we were talking about 307 years of experience stepping away from our district, there are two things that come into play. A, we have to get quality individuals to be with our kids. And at the same time, we have to be making sure that we are keeping our eye on the financial impact of that. And blending those two things together is something that we are continually trying to do. And Mike and I and Mr. Bryan and Mr. Espy, we are constantly trying to get the best bang for our buck when it comes to what we can do here. So it's just a good opportunity to remind you. I know that you guys know that, but to remind our community of those things as well. So thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. All right, then we move to the treasurer section. Mr. Espy, guarantee resolution.
Yes, thank you, Reverend Eilert, members of the board. I'd like to talk through a little bit of an update and kind of how we got here to this resolution. So when we look at kind of where we are with House Bill 96, which is the state budget, just wanted to kind of go over where we are with that. And as we see where we are, so there was the governor's proposal that came out in early February. And then it made its way into the House where we provided both written and in-person testimony. And basically coming out of the House, what occurred was the guarantee, which is so important to us, remained intact, which was not in the governor's proposal. There were 5% and 10% reductions to the next fiscal years. So that was obviously very, very troubling initially, but the House held those, and we do think that all the representatives that we spoke with, we've reached out to them to say thank you for listening to us and for essentially protecting that guarantee, but also giving us a small increase, which we wouldn't have gotten with the governor's proposal. Now it's traveled into the Senate, and Mr. Broadwater and I went up last Wednesday in hopes of testifying. However, we were slated 82nd on the day. And as you can imagine, there were probably still 30 after us. So we did not get to speak in testimony, verbal testimony. But what we did get a chance to do was speak with some of the lobbyists. We got to speak with some of our professional organizations. And we also got to speak with Senator Blessing in his office for about 15 minutes. And that was obviously well worth the trip up and back just to kind of get his perspective. And so now as we travel into the Senate Finance Committee, that's going to be occurring starting May 26th or the week of May 26th. May 26th is Memorial Day. So I believe the first testimony is going to be the 27th. So we'll be submitting our written testimony that will also allow us to go and speak in person once we get our schedules kind of worked out for that week. I do want to say that there was some pushback and some, I guess, falling out of ranks with some of our professional organizations on, what they were asking for within this budget bill. And so one of them happened to be the Fair School Funding Work Group, which had started to basically speak on reducing the guarantee potentially 5%. And I personally believe this, and I know that Mr. Broadwater does too, that any kind of language that reduces the guarantee right now is something that we're against, because part of the Fair School Funding Plan rollout talked about the need for studies of guarantee districts. There are a multitude of reasons I think that districts are on the guarantee. We always hear that districts are on the guarantee because of enrollment, and that's just not the case. And I'm going to get into this a little bit when I talk about the 5-year forecast. But really what this resolution does is say that we're for the rollout of the Fair School Funding Plan, updated base costs, and full implementation. It also says that we believe that the guarantee is really, really important to us. And we're bringing this resolution to you tonight to ask for your approval of it, so we can kind of be a trendsetter in the state to say that we can believe two things at once. That the Fair School Funding Plan is a good thing, but also we understand that a full implementation for us doesn't change the fact that we're going to be on the guarantee. And so, again, we believe that two things can be true at once, and that's why we're bringing this to you tonight. I will also say that it puts an emphasis on the guarantee. That tends to be the third or fourth bullet point on some of our professional organizations. For us, it's our number one bullet point. So, do you have any questions?
I don't have any questions. I would just add that it also talks about the cash balance provision that the House added back in. You know, we've been hearing that will likely be removed, but I think we would be remiss of not including that in there. I did see today that I'm not sure which, it was like all the auditors sent a letter basically saying, hey, this cash balance provision doesn't make sense. And if you were going to do it for schools, you should do it for all governmental entities. There's no reason you should be just choosing schools, but they clearly came out against that provision as well. So, and I'm thankful for the work that's happening. We have a lot of community members that have been advocating, writing letters, making phone calls, and testifying. And so just grateful for the community leaning in to try and protect state funding as well.
Thank you. I think that's a really important point. I feel very lucky to live in this community where people are listening and people are doing things. They're in a world of talkers. We have a lot of doers in this community. So I'm proud to live here. I'm proud for all the advocacy, and I'm hoping that it continues. I like to count that as a win, but I'm hoping that we can count our funding for our students as a big win too. So
Just to jump in, to me, the resolution is needed. It's a great flag in the ground to say this guarantee's got to stay. And I hope our community can see how hard the board and John and myself, we're working hard to make sure that the community voice is heard so that this guarantee is protected. And the best way for the community voice to be heard is for the community to participate as well. And they've done a very good job and I appreciate it. I know John was with a lobbyist today. This morning, I'll be with Senator Blessing tomorrow, so we're going to keep chipping away. But they like hearing from community members as well. So, thank you.
Yeah, I want to encourage all of assuming that this will pass in a moment here, encourage all of the members of the board in this next week. We see the finance committees coming next. I think it would be great if each of us sent this individually to all of the members of the finance committee to let them know this is something we passed together as a board. These are our priorities as a district. And I really appreciate what John lifted up and the way this has been crafted to really put the focus on the guarantee. As he said, it's got that tendency, it keeps dropping down 2 or 3, but for us, it's our number one. And I think maybe you saw my response to someone that was trying to encourage us to join some other lobbying on this issue today. And I said, unless the guarantee is a part of that, I'm not going to be signing off on something that doesn't also include that, because for us, that's the linchpin in terms of whether or not we're going to be able to fund the schools at the level that we feel is appropriate here, or the minimum that we feel is appropriate here in Loveland. So appreciate again all of the work that all of you have been doing between John and Mike and Lynn. They've put in a lot of hours to keep the emphasis on what's going to most benefit us here in Loveland with school funding. And I just want to make sure all of us are a part of that as board members and moving forward into this final piece, along with the rest of the community. We have that great website again. If it's right at the front page of the website. If folks go there, you'll find this piece along with some other information that can help community members to be a part of this final push as well. So please check that out and be a part of the effort to maintain funding for our schools. All right.
I would also like to point out at this point, you should be reaching out to the Senate Finance Committee. That would be the group on the link that we have on our website. These are our asks: protect the guarantee, number one, ensure state funding keeps up with inflation. So we're asking for, get us closer to 2.3%. That's what we're expecting inflation to be over the next several years. And then also remove the cash balance provision that Mrs. Mengen brought up as well. It means $4.5 million to us over the 5-year forecast if that cash balance provision goes in to effect now, and we're in the bottom 22% of cash balance districts. So you can imagine if we're in the bottom 22%, it hits us $4.5 million. It's going to be a big hit for districts across the state. I will also say that we have a cash balance policy. So in a world where we're talking about a lot of local control, or in a state where we're talking about a lot of local control as well, we have a cash balance policy that was brought forth and passed by the board that not only has a low end on it, it has a top end. And so I feel that that really meets that need because you can't simply look at a cash balance and know why the cash balance is that high or that low. So.
Thank you. All right, do we have a motion to approve the support of maintaining the guarantee and supporting the fair school funding? Full phase in with the updated base costs to support this resolution. Do we have a motion to approve this resolution? Approve the resolution, support the resolution? I don't-
Approve.
Approve the resolution.
So moved.
Second.
Can we have a roll call then?
Reverend Eilert,
Yes.
Mrs. Jaranek,
Yes.
Mrs. Mangan,
Yes.
Dr. Swetchnow,
Yes.
Mrs. Washburn.
Yes.
Thank you. All right. Next on the agenda then is the 2025 April 2025 financial report.
Yes, thank you very much. I'm gonna go ahead and move into that. As we look at April analysis, we're 83.3% through fiscal year 25, believe it or not. Expenditures and revenues are currently showing a negative impact on cash balance by 0.29%, so don't sound the alarms just yet. There is a negative impact, but we're really, really close. When we look at our expenditures, 0.15% negative variance to the forecasted expenditures. That's going to be on salary and benefits being lower, but supplies being higher. I'm going to talk about that and that impact on the 5-year forecast in a little bit as well. When we look at revenues, 0.14% negative variance to forecasted revenues, with local taxes being higher than forecasted, investment earnings being higher than forecasted, but restricted state aid being lower than forecasted. Our interest income is a little bit less than last month that I reported for March at $85,702.92, and we're at a fiscal year to date of $888,257.02, which is higher at the end of April than we were last year, the entire year. So I'm really hoping to crack that $1 million mark for investment. And as we look at investments here, you'll notice that the star rate is about 0.5 basis points lower than last year. Although we're continuing to stay true to our plan with commercial paper. I think Luis did a great job of explaining that, so I don't know if anyone has any questions on commercial paper.
We'll go back and watch the video.
Go back and watch the video, it's really good. But this is where we are right now. This is where we're seeing the bulk of our funding. I'm happy to see that blended average yield is going up as we start to kind of wean off some of those older investments that we were locked into for a long period of time. when we look at ongoing projects, we're obviously monitoring the upcoming legislation and how it affects us. We're also looking at the end of the fiscal year and those starting to close those procedures. We had our final cutoff for requisitions on May 2nd. We've been granting some grace to a few latecomers, but we're now working through the fiscal year end procedures. Still working on grant writing. We're at 821,750 in terms of what has been in review or submitted. So I'll be happy when some of those start coming back with positive outcomes. We are also looking at submitting a safety grant that could bring in $500,000 per year for 3 years. So lots going on with that. That's a very in-depth grant that we're working through right now with our grant writer. We are also setting up new PI account code structures to essentially create buckets for the different kind of PI expenditures, whether they be technology, maintenance, some of our maintenance staff. Mr. Bryant wants me to say maintenance again. He wants 2 buckets, I think. And then he'll take everyone's bucket, actually. AOS, there's an Auditor of State Uniform School Accounting System. We refer to it as USAS manual update, and it is riveting. It's 200 pages that, you'll never get back when you read through it. You'll never get that time back. We're obviously continuing to work on Finance Fridays. Very happy to be working through that. We're going to take a break on Finance Fridays in the summer, but I think we have enough content that we can keep pushing some Finance Fridays of things that we've already put out.
No poolside chats?
No. Yeah. Maybe next year. All right. We are working on payment in lieu of transportation process, new process rollout. I have a meeting with Greg Ossie, our Director of Transportation, at the beginning of June, so we'll be working through that. And then onboarding new payroll assistants. So one of the items that we had kind of talked about through the Finance Committee, and I know also with our agenda setting meeting, was new payroll assistants. So it's never a good, I never feel like it's a good thing when you're losing someone on your staff. And, I just want to say thank you so much to Melissa and to Kay, both our payroll assistant and our payroll manager. We went through a process where we interviewed for a payroll assistant. And throughout that process, Kay Pierce, who's our payroll specialist, she kind of reached out and said, "Hey, I'm looking to kind of sunset my career." She's already rehired, so I think she's kind of looking towards what's next and spending more time with the grandkids and things like that. So through this process, we were able to bring in 2 very, very high quality applicants and talk to them. And I can tell you that both myself, Rachel, our assistant treasurer, and Kay were having a lot of trouble choosing between these 2 ladies. And through Kay's kind of selfless act of saying, "Hey, I'm ready to go in a few months, but I'd really like to help onboard the new payroll manager," we're able to actually bring both of these ladies in as payroll assistants now, with one of them moving into the payroll specialist position as we go forward into the fall and into the winter. So, it's always sad to lose people, but I cannot think of a better outcome with the people that we were able to find with replacing them. And both are Loveland residents. One is Nicole Sartain, who is serving our middle school in a secretary role right now, in the 12-month secretary. And another is Dawn McCrossin, who I believe has a student that's at the middle school right now. Is going to be going to the high school next year. And just ecstatic to have them be part of the team and to continue to build a team that's full of Loveland residents. So I think that is a really unique thing, and I think it's going to be another differentiator for our department and where we go forward. So,
Well done.
and I think that may be Oh, got a couple other ones. So I wanted to also recognize Luis Saucedo. I was sent a $500 check from OASBO, which is Ohio Association of School Business Officials. That was for mentoring another treasurer. And I thought it would be great to bestow that upon Luis as he heads to Purdue. So this is Luis and I when I was able to present that to him. And then moving on into the next slide, we also have a summer intern, which is a 2023 Loveland City Schools graduate, Brody Mers. We have had several discussions with him, and it was really awesome to be able to send him some data. And a couple hours later, at like 10 o'clock at night, I got a data wall and a visualization of that data. So we met with him on Monday. We're kind of doing Monday and Friday meetings, and he's really working hard for us right now. And it's really awesome to be able to help out Loveland graduates and have them help us out too. So really looking forward to those possibilities as we go forward. When savings, I'm not going to read through all these, but I do want to, again, give a shout out to Mr. Samuels for all of his work. He's the real deal. He really is. And that work is done with Dr. Puerta and all of the other department heads and principals to work together to find ways to save money for the district. Unrelated to that, Mr. Bryant and I had a meeting where we were working with a vendor where we were really unhappy with a proposal that we got from them. And let me just tell you, the proposal that we got and the proposal that we ended with are two vastly different things. And so I just want the community to know that we are really working hard to keep costs down. And it's an ongoing thing that we're doing. And I want to thank Mr. Samuels and all of the people that are doing that. It is refreshing to walk into budget meetings where people are not asking for crazy increases. They're thinking about how they want to better utilize their budget. So good stuff. Got to give my Finance Friday. There's going to be one coming out about the school funding formula. So keep plugging it away. Let's get
When
those
did
views
you
up.
start
Let's get
those?
views into. I'd like to see 30 likes. If I can get 30 likes this Friday, we'll be in good spot. Share, tell your friends. All right. Thank you. That is the
All
report.
right, those, does that complete your financial reports?
It does.
All right, so let's then have a motion to accept and approve the financial reports for April 2025.
So moved. I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Jernick,
Yes.
Mrs. Mengen,
Yes.
Dr. Swetchnow,
Yes.
Mrs. Washburn,
Yes.
Reverend Eilert.
Yes.
And sorry, just to go back, we didn't really specifically talk about donations. We kind of brushed up against it. We're continuing to have great support from community members on helping the kids with their Feed the Kids Fund, but also the Loveland Schools Foundation was able to donate a tremendous amount of money to help bring the Steve Kenyon project to fruition, as well as some like-kind donations from companies in Loveland. So I just wanted to make sure that we acknowledged how happy we are with that.
We'll be approving those
Yeah, that's-
still coming up. Yep. Yep.
You jumped.
That's a
the gun.
great
Great work.
transition, Dr. Swetch, now into our next.
I'll say that again next.
They'll just watch the recording.
So 7.3 are the donations, and as Dr. Swetch now just noted, there's a lot of donations there, and so it is really important that we
So moved.
those up. I'm wondering from the foundation, I know a number of those, right, would be individual donations
Yeah.
that are represented there.
Right.
That's the-
If folks go to lovelandschoolsfoundation.org/Kenyon, there is a huge list of companies that make up, so they donated to the foundation in turn donated to the district. But the list, I mean, there is probably 20 different companies that some upwards of $20,000 in donations. And then, there's just the amount of donations is unbelievable. And then the number of, so there's singles, doubles, triples, home runs, and grand slam donations. And the list of, singles, which is 100 to 1,000, is probably 80 to 100 different families. So it's that it's really just beautiful, like, to see. So I would encourage folks to go to lovelandschoolsfoundation.org/Kenyon, and you can see everybody that donated, that comprised those donations.
Yeah, it really has been a community effort to
Mhm.
make that project happen. And the in-kind donations have been significant as well, as you see there with the $40,000 worth of concrete work and parents working on signage for the.
Right.
So a lot of wonderful things happening and make that project even more special.
And just the skills, the students that have participated, that have gone out and presented to businesses and, family members asking for the donations, that's invaluable skills for those young adults that have been doing that work.
Excellent. All right. Do we have a motion then to accept the donations as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Mangan,
Yes.
Dr. Swetchenow?
Yes.
Mrs. Washburn?
Yes.
Reverend Eilert?
Yes.
Mrs. Jernick?
Yes.
Thanks.
Mr. Bryant wants to make a special thanks.
Great. Thank you.
Just two that I would like to call your attention to is the Ford Corporation and JK Muir. As we were starting to get started with the Steve Kenyon Outdoor Classroom, the infrastructure was something that's not always the most exciting to talk about or to fundraise for. But those two companies who do a lot of business with the district were able to pour all of the concrete that was needed. And they were able to do that in March and April so that the kids could get things together to pursue other areas that they wanted to fundraise for. So just a huge shout out to those two vendors for stepping up very early on in the process to just push this forward. I just appreciate both of them.
Thank you. All right, 7.4, the fiscal year 26 health insurance rates.
Yes, happy to talk about this a little bit. We are part of the Greater Cincinnati Insurance Consortium with several other school districts. And we were given a 4.5% increase, which is highly competitive with other consortiums in our area. We've heard that some consortiums are getting double digits. One local one is getting an 11% increase. So we feel fortunate to be getting a 4.5% increase. We also put together a document that you'll have in your section that is beyond the initial rate sheet. It shows our staff how much the increase would be. So we're waiting for, obviously you to take some action tonight and hopefully approve this so we can communicate this out to our staff. We are also doing insurance committee meetings now. We had our second one where we went over this rate increase and also just spoke about a lot of different factors that go into healthcare and our costs. And so I'm looking forward to having that discussion continue on to work together to find out how we can really try to keep these costs as low as possible, but also use data that we have to identify things that we can do as well from a district perspective and an education perspective to continue to teach our staff the importance of how their healthcare works and also items that they can utilize to help improve their health.
Any questions about the insurance rates for this next year? A motion then to accept and approve the Greater Cincinnati Insurance Consortium insurance rate changes for fiscal year 26.
So moved.
Second.
A roll call, please.
Dr. Swetchenow,
Yes.
Mrs. Washburn,
Yes.
Reverend Eilert,
Yes.
Mrs. Jernick,
Yes.
Mrs. Mangan.
Yes.
You. The next thing we have then is the acceptance and awarding of a bid, and these are related to a couple of those projects that Dr. Schwetchnow alluded to earlier, and we talked about our facilities committee.
Yes, happy to talk about this. As Dr. Swetchenow brought up, as well as I think Mr. Bryant's talked about before, we went out to bid for two different storage facilities on the LHS campus, one that would sit up on the hill, essentially up across from the high school football field, as well as one that's down on the band practice field that we also utilize for parking at home football games. Both of these are going to allow us to alleviate some of the congestion that are in the high school. And so we went to bid, and we're bringing you the lowest bidder that we went through during this process, and happy to answer any other questions or call Mr. Bryan up to answer any more in-depth questions if you have any.
Now, we did review both of these proposals a couple of times at facilities meetings and feel like they're well thought out and will serve the district well. I'm very appreciative, having spent a lot of time backstage at Loveland High School and moved things in and out of the backstage area too many times. I think this is going to provide some huge improvements for us, as well as safety improvements for us as well. So grateful for the initiative that was taken there. One thing we did talk about, just to tie it into our last meeting, we approved those funds that needed to be used for building project. Do you want to say a little bit more about that, just to remind folks?
Yeah, so we essentially were able to transfer the remaining funds from the bond fund into the PI fund to help fund this project. We do have appropriations available for this project without that transfer. And the Budget Commission was meeting today, so I would imagine we will hear tomorrow if we are successful in being able to do that. It's still a petition at this point, so we'll see where we go from there. But we do have available appropriations should there be any issue with that transfer.
Great, thank you. All right, any other questions, comments about the proposal as presented? This is for, as you looked at, if you looked at the drawings, this is for the base bid and the drawings that were presented. All right, do we have a motion to accept the winning bid for the maintenance, athletic, and music building projects for LHS campus?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Washburn?
Yes.
Reverend Eilert?
Yes.
Mrs. Jarnett?
Yes.
Mrs. Mangan?
Yes.
Dr. Swetson?
Yes.
Thanks. Then you want to speak to the acceptance of the change order for this project as well?
Yes, so when we bid this project out, we essentially asked for two different specifications. One was with an addition to the middle section, just to see how much, that would cost. We do feel like this, given where this project is and where our appropriations are and where our planning is for next year with the PI funds, that it would be appropriate to accept the change order to essentially allow us to have a larger midsection of the larger building that's up on the hill that I spoke about earlier.
And everyone see that it adds about 16 feet of length to the building, which again will be a huge addition at a pretty minimal cost to allow us to use the space even more flexibly over the years.
And just to add, it adds, I think, about 500 square feet to a 3,500 or 3,000 square foot building. So the price was very favorable for that. And then just to also reiterate, not necessarily a change order like you would think of if you were building a house where you've already been under construction and now you're changing something. Really just kind of a breakdown of, should we do it this way or should we do it this way, so that we could get an idea if we could afford the bigger building, which you've already referenced is very affordable.
Are there questions about this change order for the maintenance athletic, really the maintenance athletic building, right? For the music building?
It's actually, yeah, this is going to be for the maintenance and athletic building at the top.
Do we have a motion to approve change order?
So, second.
Roll call, please.
Reverend Eilert?
Yes?
Mrs. Jarnett?
Yes.
Mrs. Mangan?
Yes.
Dr. Swetchenow?
Yes.
Mrs. Washburn?
Yes.
Thank you. All right.
My microphone went off and Liz did too.
Yeah, the system crashed out. We have to go back and recording.
Okay.
Okay.
I hope it was after my comments. It was before the 5-year forecast.
Do you guys need anything from us, or are you good at the backup?
Adam's working to reboot the system.
Wasn't ready for the forecast. You just want to hold it now?
Where are we at?
We just hold this for a couple of minutes to see if they can get.
2 or 3 minutes.
We're still recording,
So if it's okay, can we go through the vendor contracts? Do we feel okay with that without as much audio or as good audio quality?
Well, it's not.
We still have a recording.
We still have a backup recording going, correct?
Yeah, we can.
Or we can wait until then.
I think I think we're okay to go through to keep going until we get to the 5-year forecast.
Okay.
What do you-
I agree.
Since we have a backup recording, okay.
Okay. So let's move on then to item 7.7, the approval of vendor contracts. And there's a long list here of contracts. But it's that time of year, and a lot of important programs and opportunities presented there. You guys reviewed all of these, correct, at the Finance Committee? Anything that you want to highlight there?
Just want to bring up the fact that Jesse Coles does an amazing job with breaking down the ESC contracts, and he really broke them down for us in terms of helping us, explain it and be able to know the information well enough to present it. So I want to give him kudos. I will say that any of the increases that are occurring are either occurring because we have different student needs, or we're strategically moving contracts to the ESC from other vendors. For instance, we have some nursing students with nursing needs, and with some of our other vendors, we did not feel like we were able to meet the needs as well as if we went with Warren County ESC. They also provide their own subs. So if a nurse was out that we were contracted with, they would provide a sub to come and take place. We're not necessarily getting that with our other vendors. So I do think that that's important to note there. And we are also able to be a little bit more malleable with our staffing with these contracts. The Power Ag contract allows us to bring in revenue, which Mr. Bryant and I worked through to drop the revenue funds of this contract into the turf replacement. So we're continuing to do those things. Forward Edge Managed Services, that's essentially the networking and keeping everything together. Chromebooks, we were able to get a very advantageous price through going through bids and quoting. And then the iReady, we've heard that from several of our principals, the importance of that. And so that's what that contract is.
The professional learning section, is that training for folks to be able to make better use of it? Is that-
Yep, it's for the pilot teachers, grades 5 through 8. It's embedded coaching in the classroom.
Excellent. Great. All right, any other questions about the vendor contracts as presented? All right, do we have a motion to approve the contracts as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Jarnick? Mrs. Mangan?
Yes.
Dr. Swetchenow?
Yes.
Mrs. Washburn?
Yes.
Reverend Eilert?
Yes. Thank you. Move on then to the final 018 and 200 fund budget and purpose statements.
Yes, so these are either building funds, which we refer to as principal accounts, or student accounts like we spoke about with the student group that's going out west. These are budgets that they prepare and change as they need, and this is an auditor requirement that we have you approve these. And these would be the final versions that you're approving for this fiscal year.
Any questions about these statements as provided? You brought your magnifying glass.
Yeah. There's really no good way to present it to you.
Yeah.
You-
Lot of
you'd be
detail.
Trying to tape the pages together if you printed it out.
Excellent. All right, do we have a motion to approve these statements as presented?
So moved.
Roll call, please.
Would you need a
Second.
Oh, sorry, second.
Eric's.
It's getting late.
Mrs. Mangan,
Yes.
Dr. Swetchnow,
Yes.
Mrs. Washburn,
Yes.
Reverend Eiler,
Yes.
Mrs. Jeremy.
Yes.
Thank you. All right, next we have the fiscal year 25 amended permanent appropriations / amended certificate of estimated resources.
Yes, this is just actually amending the budget for some of our general fund. Some went up, some went down. The net was actually down. So our appropriations actually go down on this. And I'll be bringing this to you again next month as our final appropriations.
Any questions about that? A motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Dr. Swetchnow,
Yes.
Mrs. Washburn,
Yes.
Reverend Eiler,
Yes.
Mrs. Jernick,
Yes.
Mrs. Mangan.
Yes.
All right, fiscal year 26 temporary appropriations.
These are 25% of our last approved appropriations. This is just in the event that I'm not able to get permanent appropriations brought to you at the next board meeting. It allows us to open up and start doing business in fiscal year 26 in July.
Probably a good idea.
Very good.
Do you have any questions about that? Those are all listed there. We have a motion to approve and accept the
So moved.
temporary appropriations.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Washburn,
Yes.
Reverend Eiler,
Yes.
Mrs. Jernick,
Yes.
Mrs. Mangan,
Yes.
Dr. Swetchnow.
Yes, and John, just as a note, on my agenda, 7.9 and 7.10, both have the same language for moved and accepted a resolution to approve and accept the FY 25 permanent appropriation.
Yeah, that's why I just changed that motion as I stated it, so.
I appreciate
This
that.
was the temporary appropriation for 26.
Thank you.
So good of you.
What's that?
So good that you're catching the detail. An hour and 40 minutes.
Hanging on, figured it out.
If you thought that was a lot.
Get ready, 5-year forecast here.
Can we add the 5-year forecast onto your Finance Friday meeting?
Yeah, I might need to buy a larger SD card for my camera.
Finance weekend.
Is this a filibuster?
What do we think technology-wise here?
I'm trying to work it in.
5 minutes, and I do a little workaround. Let's see if that works.
Okay, should we just take a break?
Yeah, let's take a break for 5 minutes.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Meeting, not adjourned, but
Recess.
recess, thank you. I think we're at recess at 7:37 for 5 minutes.
You might talk about the FTE chart right now.
Okay, we come out of recess at 7:50 and apologize for our technological challenges here tonight. So we tried diligently to get the 5-year forecast back up on our broadcast, but we're not. There we go. I guess that doesn't even matter as much now either. But we tried to get the 5-year forecast back up on our broadcast, but that was not happening. So we will be providing this recording because we want to make sure everyone sees the good work that's been done in formulating the 5-year forecast. So Mr. Espy will have this available on the treasurer site for sure. linked to his Finance Friday. And let's take some time now and go through the 5-year forecast.
Thank you, Reverend Eilert. As we start the 5-year forecast and start going through this, just want to bring this up that this is required by law. They are required to be filed by November 30th and May 31st. And they outline the general fund or any special cost center or buckets of funds associated with general fund money. So we're not talking about any grant funds, federal grant funds, 018s, anything like that. It's only the general fund. As you see, here are our different funds. And again, we're only looking at the 001 or the general fund, as I have outlined. When you look at the actual 5-year forecast document, the far left is giving you the actual 3 years of data, and then to the right, it's giving us projected. So when we're looking at fiscal year 25, it will appear in the area right here, even though that says 24, that's just for illustration purposes. This is where we'll see fiscal year 25 on this 5-year forecast. And the idea is between right now and the end of the fiscal year is what I'm trying to really dial in and then go forward from on forecasting. When we look at the Fair School Funding Plan, the Fair School Funding Plan utilizes what's called a base cost. And our base cost is $8,117. And this is not what it actually costs to educate a student, but it's a calculation within the Fair School Funding Plan that represents a minimum level of services. And you can see this breakdown, how we have direct classroom instruction, which is the bulk of this base cost, and then instructional, student support, leadership, and district leadership. When we go forward and we look at the capacity per pupil, this is what's really hurting us on this funding formula. As property values go up, or as earnings go up in the district, our capacity or the way the state looks at us in terms of being able to raise funds locally goes up. So as this goes up, it further keeps us on what's called the guarantee, because it's going up at a rate faster than we can keep up with in terms of enrollment or any of the multitude of other reasons why districts would be on the guarantee. I also want to point out here that this is where, when you look at our state share percentage, we're at 10%. The question that I've been asking myself lately is, if we look at a typical student that comes into Loveland, the formula says that 90% of that student should be covered locally. It also says that if a student comes in and needs some extra supports and is labeled special needs, then what happens is the formula says that our community should pay 90%. It's actually worse than that, because there's a special education set aside. It's almost like 93 or 94%. Same thing with gifted students, and recently they finally changed transportation, but it used to be like that for transportation too. So really telling that story with the district, this is a concern that I have. Also, when you look at this slide, you can see how deep we go into the guarantee. And this is based off of this 5-year forecast and the numbers that were brought to us. To further illustrate to some of our lobbying groups and some of our professional groups, I modeled, not in this forecast, but another one, a scenario of 10% base cost increases year over year throughout the 5-year forecast, and we end up being at $6.8 million on the guarantee in fiscal year 29. So with these massive increases that I modeled, it only impacts this number by $800,000. So that's how deep we are sitting on the guarantee and why it's such an important factor in our school funding. And you can see here with the pie chart, 90% local, 10% state. If you want to look at our funding in terms of, in this type of visualization, the guarantee is represented in blue. So you'll notice that it continues to rise and kind of steadies out when we get to the last 3 years of the forecast. And this is funds that the district will lose without the guarantee. So the bulk of our funding is guaranteed down here in the blue. So again, another reason why it's important for us, we need to advocate to keep that funding. If you want to look at it in terms of just enrollment, which I've told you it's not just about enrollment, but I did put this together to just further illustrate how far we're on the guarantee. We would have to bring in 772 additional students this fiscal year, and we would still receive $0. It would take 773 to get additional funding. I think we could all agree that we would be utilizing a lot more resources with 772 additional students. And you can go forward in the 5 years and see it continues to increase to get up to 853. So this is what the guarantee means to us. Part of the House Bill 96 talks about admin costs. So me being the person I am, I went and figured out exactly what our admin costs would be looking like when we look at how House Bill 96 defines it. We are 2.73% below the House Sub Bill 96 or Senate Bill 96, 15% amendment or admin cost limit, I should say. So that seemed to be closer than I would expect. So I wanted to dig in and look even further. And looking further here, this is all of Hamilton County school districts. You'll find that we are sitting down here in the bottom 5. So, Laughlin is sitting at the highest, followed by Finneytown, Indian Hill, Mount Healthy, Marymount. And you'll notice that the only other 5-star district in our county is Madeira. They have a higher admin cost per student than we do. And if you're interested in seeing these in table form, they're over here, although I realize that's really small. But you'll be able to see it very clearly when you download this and pour over it from the district website. And I really hope that you do take a look at this because it's pretty astounding to see where we stand from an admin cost perspective. I started doing this, and it sounds very simple, but I don't think a lot of my colleagues are doing it, and I wanted to do this because I think it simplifies what we're doing here. Oftentimes, people will say, well, why didn't you catch that on the last forecast? Well, it's because a lot of things have changed since the last forecast. We've seen a new budget bill, we've seen a lot of things, and so this is what's changed on the expenditure side. We talked about the purchase services going up a little bit in fiscal year 26 based on the student needs of the ESC contracts. We have also seen that we're now going to be utilizing school fee accounts more. And so as we do that, that's going to alleviate some pressure on the general fund in fiscal year 26 and beyond. We also have seen our benefits decrease during enrollment period, so less people took our insurance. We also know that health insurance premiums are now locked in at 4.5%, and I'm assuming an 8% going forward in fiscal year 27 and beyond, just to make sure that we're not caught off guard with any increases that may occur. Also, our purchase service expenses are lower than projected, while supplies are higher. And that's likely due to people knowing exactly where they stand. They're getting a budget report every Monday. So the good news is they're getting a budget and they know where they are. The bad news is they're looking at it and they know what they have and they're spending it. And so that's something that we continue to dial in. And I can tell you that they're really good budget meetings. And I think having been through it a second time with me, everyone kind of knew what to expect, and they were going really, really smoothly. So just want to give kudos to all those people. Also, it assumes $210,000 on our savings chart that we keep, with about $52,500 in benefits due to staffing and hiring practices. This is where we talk about not only the FTE chart and total numbers, but what we're able to do with smart hiring practices of trying to replace on the low end of the pay scale when we have resignations or retirements. If we look on the revenue side, obviously House Bill 96 is really has really thrown a wrench in things for us. What I've done is try to thread the needle between Governor DeWine's proposal and the House bill, because that's what we know right now. And so I've kind of modeled it in between those for right now. And this is obviously affecting the restricted and unrestricted state aid with the potential effects of the funding guarantee and all those things that we're continuing to tell our story about.
What about the federal dollars?
So actually, Dr. Burns and I were talking about this a little bit earlier today. It seems like we're hearing that Title I is going to be left alone in terms of our funding levels. I'm sure it's still going to be based off of our numbers and things like that. We still don't know beyond that what to expect. We were told May. It's the back half of May now, and we don't have a definitive answer. Our investment income is also leading to stronger revenues than projected. I took a conservative approach with those last year, and I'm happy to be beating those. And then also looking at the TIF extension with Sims Township. That's now been corrected with the Hamilton County Auditor's Office. We had a very productive meeting with Sims Township down at the Auditor's Office a couple weeks ago. And now those funds are all going to be coming into the general fund because that's where TIF funds come. So now we're going to have a little bit less in PI, and the part that would have gone to bond is now coming to general fund as well. So, and we're still waiting on that payment, but we expect to have that shortly, as outlined in our TIF agreement. And then if you look at the property tax revenue, it's going to be lower, but we're going to have that miscellaneous revenue from the TIF payment. So getting into the forecast summary, I'm happy to show you here with the cash balance. This has a much more curved approach than we were seeing before. Again, primarily because of how that TIF payment is going to be inside the general fund for a period of time. I've also adjusted our interest rates and what we're planning there. And I'm going to get into all the other components that get into making this up. But as you look, the blue is the revenue, the yellow is the expenditures, and the cash balance drops as the expenditures start to take over the revenues. This is another way of looking at it where you can start to see that cross. The next slide here shows that we had been projecting to go into deficit spending in fiscal year 26. We're now expecting to be able to push that off to 27, which is a very good thing. Very happy to see those numbers. And I do want to say, like, I am happy to see numbers like that, but the numbers are the numbers. Like, I kind of do the forecast, and then I look at the result of it. It's not trying to back yourself into a number that you want to see. It's what is the data telling us, and that's always been my approach with this. So you'll see projected to have revenues exceeding expenditures in fiscal year 25 and 26, as I pointed out, and then deficit spending in fiscal year 27 and 29. I call deficit spending any time you spend more than you take in. So that's the definition for me. When you look at a deeper dive of revenues, flat revenues due to House Bill 920, we also have that local capacity factor that has increased after the latest reassessment, and that's leading to some of our categorical spending. When we look at our expenditures, what I did is I left in what I had shown you in November. So now that we have more data, we have 10 months of total data versus just a couple. Now we went from 6.41% to 5.52% in our benefits increases. That's because we had less people take them. Plus, we also know what that increase is going to be going forward, so that pulls that down from 6.41%. Again, the cost is 20% lower than our peers. The richness is within 2%, so we know that that's a really strong plan. So I'm sure that there are other factors that are leading into why less people decided to take it. Also, our staff step and percentage increases are at 4.05%. Those came down just because we did have some staff that were out that the analytics didn't catch, so as that starts to dial in, it came down ever so slightly. you'll notice that purchase services, supplies and purchase services are pretty much right on track, but supplies were higher. So that's the only area of the forecast where I was seeing a higher trend than the November forecast. And I'm going to get into that and why, if I was going to be happy about one of these being higher, it would be supplies. When you look at salaries, there's a lot going on here with the year-over-year changes that you see between fiscal year 21 and 23. There was the reduction in staffing, so that really pulls that percentage down, and then it goes up because of the increase, and then it starts to level itself back off. You'll also notice over here in fiscal year 25 a little bit of an increase. That is because, again, we're looking only at the general fund here, and we bring in those ESSER previously funded positions that the board had decided that we wanted to continue on with, that we're very appreciative that you decided to continue on with. That's why we have that little bit of an increase and it levels back off. When you look at benefits, typically these follow exactly how salaries go, but you'll actually notice that it actually drops a little bit in fiscal year 25, again, because less individuals took those. And then again, when you look at 21 to 23, when you're talking about a reduction of 50 staff members, that's going to be a reduction of benefits that go along with that. And that's, again, that kind of yo-yo that happened between 21 and 22. When we look at the revenues, 63% are from local taxes, 28% are from state sources, and then all other revenues are representing 9%. Again, that's where that TIF fund would be. That's where our investment income will be. And as a district, we're working really hard on those state sources to protect it, but also ask for a small, modest increase to keep up with inflation. I also like to point out that when we look, and this is coming from the state report card, when we look at funding sources for us versus all other Ohio public schools, you'll see that all other Ohio public schools are showing 41.2%. In local, we're at 60.5%. So we're relying a lot more on our local spend to be able to, our local taxpayers to be able to fund our schools, as well as when we look at state, the average is 38, we're sitting at 27, federal 13.2, we're sitting at 4.2, and then other 7.6 to 7.5. So really other is the only one that we're kind of like other, average school districts. So I think that's important to keep in mind as well. When we look at the revenues, you can see how the 2023 levy phase-in occurred here. That's because we're in fiscal years. Those levies are collected on calendar years. So when you have that first collection, you only feel half of that payment, and you start to feel the rest of it. And finally, by 2025, it levels off, and you're being fully funded for an entire fiscal year. When we look at property tax collections, this is something that we spoke about in Finance Committee. There's a possibility. We've had valuations challenged by Duke, not only in Claremont County, but now in Hamilton County. And we're not expecting that to necessarily impact this property tax collection rate right now, although we are slightly lower when it comes to personal utility, personal property, which is PUP, as we call that. That is going to be taxes that's on the infrastructure of our utility companies. And so this is kind of an ongoing thing that we're looking at and monitoring that, because it impacts the forecast in the way that if we see 46% be collected right now, one would think that we would see 54% later, but if those valuations are changed and they're altered, we would actually see less and we wouldn't get to that full 100% collection. So just something that I'm monitoring that I want the board to know about as well. We are also seeing the need to start to transfer out for our severance payments. So you'll remember that I brought to you an 035 fund establishment a couple months ago. What that allows us to do is have a separate standalone severance fund. So we're able to transfer funds into that severance fund based off of data that we have now. So when I look at our current state of where we are in terms of the number of people that could be retiring next year, we're looking at potentially 23 that could retire. We're not sure if they're going to. We're not sure if STRS is going to change anything. It sounds like they're kind of dug in right now at 32. But those are things that we have to keep in mind. And so what I was able to do here is look at those 23 people that could retire next year, look at the number of sick days they have right now at their daily rate right now, and come up with this calculation and projection. So this is leading to us being able to actually transfer and know why we're transferring and be able to back up while we're transferring. Now the beauty of that too is if you transfer and we only have 10, that money stays there, it continues to gain interest. It still works for us, but it's earmarked for settings, which we know we're going to have to pay in the future. Workers' compensation, digging through this, we've had a healthy cash balance. We are self-insured when it comes to workers' compensation, but what we have not been doing the past 3 or 4 years is transferring into that to maintain that fund. So that's where I'm asking to transfer the amount that we've spent thus far, which is about $28,000. And so that's going to be coming next month in a request for transfers that will allow us to, again, stay in line with this 5-year forecast. Look at the expenditures, 83% on personnel costs. I would go as far as to say half of this, 11%, is still personnel that we contract with. You know, we're a people business, and you know, we're teaching people with people, and that's our biggest, you know, it's our most important resource, are people. And so that's why we're spending the majority on people. Remember how I said supplies? If I was going to be happy in one area, I would say it would be other uses, but if I had a second choice, it would be supplies, because it only makes up 5.46% of our expenditures, and we're continuing to monitor, you know, those supply expenses as well.
This does not include PI funds, correct?
This does not include PI, total, only general.
So I think some people look at that and think, well, how can we?
Right.
A lot of expenses for buildings and stuff that aren't included.
Correct. Now, I will say that the expenditures per pupil, that is part of the calculation.
Right.
So there are other ways to kind of factor that in as well. But, you know, we're monitoring this. This is very close to what it was last year. You'll notice that this yellow section went from 5 to 6, and the blue went from 12 to 11. When we look at the expenditures, again, insurance rate projections, we're at 5.52% is what we're projecting with the analytics, 4.05 in the staff step and percent increases, and then 3.15 and 3.03% respectively in supplies and purchase services. I will say there's still a swoosh motion here that we're seeing, but it is not as pronounced as it had been. Which for me is a very, very good thing, and I think our community should feel good that while the expenses are continuing to go up, it's not as pronounced as it was before for all the previous factors that I've discussed. Again, it comes down to revenues and expenditures and the effect on the cash balance. You know, we do see that we're declining in our cash balance here, but as I said, it's much more it's got much more curve to it in terms of that line, and it's not quite as pronounced as we were seeing in the November forecast. We look at cash days on hand. This is what we're now seeing, 116. It actually it's growing because we're planning to have, you know, those revenues over expenses this year, which we had always planned. It does go down a little bit, but it doesn't go down to the point where we're actually deficit spending in 26. The cash balance policy that I referred to earlier actually goes into effect at 2028, so we're going to have some continued discussions on, you know, what we'll be talking about in the future in terms of, you know, revenue and cost savings, or what kind of, you know, variation of those we talk about. When you look at the prior forecast and this one, just the compounding nature of what occurs in 26, 27, 28 leads to this difference. So again, we've gone from 27 to 57, we've gone from 68 to 90. Cash balance policy still triggered in 28. And it's better off than it was in 29, but still triggering that policy.
That's my favorite slide.
Glad you like it. Nice and bright. I like it too. I like it when it looks like this.
Yeah, when it looks like this, I like it.
Yes, it's
Yeah.
my favorite slide when it looks like this. So these might not be your favorite slides then. So when we do look at the forecast and the fiscal stressors, it doesn't, I don't want to say that cash balance doesn't matter, but it's the percentage in which expenditures overtake revenue that the state is looking at. And so when you're looking at this and you see it start to go into yellow and then that red, that is what the state is looking at in terms of our fiscal stressors. And I also wanted to include, again, this is the last forecast when you're looking at those stressors and what it looks like. It was we kind of get to the same spot almost, but what ends up happening is it's much more curvilinear, or it's a softer landing than just straight down. And then again, when we look at this is what where I start to become concerned in 27, 28, and 29, because we start to cross into that caution in yellow. And you're kind of in caution for a period of time there in 27 and 28, but somewhere in 28 to 29, we start to get into the warning that is something that I want to continue to monitor, continue to dial in as we go forward, to continue to educate the public, but also inform the board as we continue on. Also have some helpful links there that will take you to our last forecast and link tree for the treasurer's office. I'm happy to answer any questions on that at this point.
Questions on the 5-year forecast?
I think it's a lot of, I don't have a question. It's more just, I appreciate the coordination across the departments and the communication, because we have said for a long time, we don't want any surprises. So, and I think, we're seeing the fruits of that, of the work day in and day out, so I'm appreciative of it. It's nice to see that cash balance going up.
My eyebrows went up when you said you were counting the sick days of potential retirees to figure out what you needed to set aside. That says you're going to a great deal of detail to make sure you've got good projections, so thank you.
Yeah, it was a lot of Excel magic, as I like to call it. But we were looking at their actual balance right now, not what it would be, but there's a lot of different pieces that flow into that. And but I appreciate that. We are trying to make data-driven decisions.
Well, I just want to chime in because I know how hard you've worked at it, and you can see, looking at Lynn's favorite slide, we clearly have had balances improve for the better, even in just the past 6 months. And that's really been because of a relentless focus on the smallest of details, like how much money are we going to spend on retirees. And there's so many more pieces to it, but the biggest bombshell, which you really don't have in the forecast, is what we've been trying to talk about to the community for the past several months, which is if the guarantee goes away, we could have up to a $4 million change in our state support overnight.
Well, it's worse than that. I mean, you think about the cash balance provision.
Yeah.
$4.5 million over this, and then you think about eroding. I mean, if everything didn't go in our favor, we could be, this could be materially different, in which I would come back to you in July or August, and I would say, I'm going to bring you another forecast.
Well, and which is exactly what the point is, and I don't want to belabor it too much because we've already said it. Without the help of the community and ensuring that we continue to gather state funds, the exercise of performing a 5-year forecast is almost laughable. It could change dramatically 3 months from now.
Yes.
And thanks for all your hard work.
Thank you. But I will say, if that happens, we know what our expenditures look like. And so to kind of maybe put a different, look at that in a different lens, we'll adjust the state restricted and unrestricted aid. But all the other expenses are there. Those are rooted in data. So it'll be, what does that effect have on the cash balance, and what does that do? Whether it's good or bad for us.
I think the biggest concern I would have on the educational piece is we are in the bottom 3% when it comes to students per teacher already. And when you talk about the 5-year forecast, it's all personnel. It's personnel. And when you're in the bottom, like John had showed with the administrative percentages in the bottom when it comes to staffing and teaching, it's going to be detrimental to our students. There's no question that it's going to affect our kids if the state makes any type of cuts. And we keep an eye on personnel as close as any district, I believe. And we are pretty thin, and that is my biggest concern is it's not like you tighten your belt. You have to if you do, but that means we're losing numbers with kids, so.
Right. Well, and that's right, you know, it wasn't just, you know, at the beginning of the year, we started this state funding conversation because we knew. So, you know, we know what the risks are if the state doesn't come through. So it's not good if they don't.
Well, and to go back to the value of the administration, you referenced how low we are on teachers, but we just saw tonight we're in the 5th lowest in Hamilton County on admin costs. So like we really, there's not a lot of room, unless we're trying to get to the lowest, you know, there's not a lot of room for cutting.
Right.
I think the big point is we're paying attention to these things, and, you know, there's part of the importance of the admin team getting together is we're all listening, and when something's brought up, we try to problem solve together, but we're all also listening to go back, and it's not very, I'd say it's seldom that I leave some of our admin meetings where I'm not going, okay, I need to go back and look at this data point, and then come back and bring it back to the admin team again. So, and we're all kind of doing those things. So I think it's a big kudos to the communication of the admin team in this group, in this district, but also the staff and the building administrators as well. It's a team effort.
Excellent. Any other questions, comments about the 5-year forecast as presented? Do we have a motion to approve and accept the May 2025 5-year forecast and associated assumptions?
So moved. Second.
Roll call, please.
Reverend Eiler,
Yes.
Mrs. Jernick,
Yes.
Mrs. Mangan,
Yes.
Dr. Swetchnow,
Yes.
Mrs. Washburn.
Yes.
Thank you. 7.12, disposal of items.
Yep, these are all banned equipment that have met the end of their road, as Mr. Miller had said to us. So, some of these items can be donated, but we have to dispose of these at district. No funds will be coming into the district for them.
Noted that at the end of the list are tables and chairs that are being donated to local churches. That does not include Prince of Peace. Benefiting from this action, so.
But importantly, there's no cost to the district in disposing of the old tables and
That's right.
chairs. Mr. Bryant, that's Mr. Bryant.
All right. We have a motion to approve accept the disposal of the items listed.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Jernick,
Yes.
Mrs. Mangan,
Yep.
Dr. Swetchnow.
Yes.
Mrs. Washburn.
Yes.
Reverend Miller.
Yes. All right, thank you. That brings us to the end of a very full agenda filled with extra technology challenges and everything for the night, but also towards the end of a very successful school year and a lot of amazing things that happened in Lebanon this year. So thanks for all your attention for this meeting. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
And this meeting is adjourned at 8:25 p.m.
Great.